morning, everyone. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Okay, that's right up. Okay. So yes, I'm going to talk about user experience design today. The objective of the session is to generate curiosity in user experience design. Okay, I'm not here to teach you all anything or anything specific as such, but just to get our community started as to what user experience design is. So if you could quickly do a show of hands as to how many people have heard of user experience design. How many people have practiced it? Oh. You all have practiced it. No, by the end of the session, you're going to all raise your hands. Okay, great. So first of all, thank you TMC, thank you STC, thank you all. The infrastructure is great. I think I like the setting a lot. I'm going to move on to my next slide. Okay, so introduction. I think my introduction has already happened, but now let me tell you a little bit more. I'm Zuzu's father. She's my daughter, 3-year-old. The toughest customer that I've ever had, and probably will ever have. Okay. And my background, so I started off as an automobile engineer. Thankfully, I'm not one anymore, otherwise you would be riding a horses to work. And post that, I've been into advertising, e-learning, Web 2.0, procurement, globalization. These are the various domains kind of I have some understanding of. I'll talk a little bit about my advertising career. It was not a very long career, but that's where I got to get introduced with concepts such as target audience, or a demographic, or an end user. And that's been extremely important as far as my career goes. I have learned something that I've carried with me, and it stays with me and probably stay with me for life. It's been a life skill that I've taken forward. So thanks to advertising. I became a technical writer in an organization where I joined as a content writer. It was an e-learning organization. It was called Mentorix. It was acquired by Lionbridge. So that's where I started my technical communications or information development, whatever you want to call it, my career over there. And post that, I also briefly talk about my Web 2.0 experience. So post Lionbridge, I was working with a startup, a very interesting, fascinating place, absolutely no processes, but they had something called user experience design. I invariably worked on user experience design in that organization without realizing I was taken up as a technical communicator, worked with product management and with UI engineers and usability engineers, got to understand the entire usability lab concept, worked on making the interface simpler for users to understand. So that was my little bit experience with user experience that has probably helped me speak here better. And in IBM or Antaurus, which was acquired by IBM, I work in the procurement domain. I think I regressed as far as I went back to core technical communication from being a user experience designer. I don't want to hurt or offend anybody's feelings here. The regression was nice, because it has helped me to probably reflect, introspect, and ultimately present this session to you all. Okay, so how many people are following MasterChef? Okay, so you all know what amuse-bouche means, right? Let me tell, for the benefit of others, let me tell you what an amuse-bouche is. Amuse-bouche is a bite-sized offering by the chef of say a fine dine restaurant. Not necessarily fine dine, but it is something that chefs offer their customers, and it's not charged for. It's not on the menu, but it's just to get you stuck with the entire experience of having food in that particular restaurant. Okay. So my amuse-bouche is a fable, Fox and the Crane. This is a story which was sometime written in 600 BC. It was an Aesop fable. I think most people know it. But I'm just going to recount it like I tell it to my daughter these days before she goes to sleep. So once upon a time, there was a fox and there was a crane. They were great friends. They used to hang out together, they used to go for movies together, they used to go to CCD for a cup of coffee once in a while. Okay. What happened one day is Fox said, hey, you know what, Crane, there's this FIFA World Cup coming up. Why don't you come over to my place, we'll have dinner, and then we'll watch the match. So Crane said, fine, sounds good, sounds like a plan. And the next, and the day Crane reached the Fox's house, the Fox served the Crane dinner. Like this, in a flat dish. Okay. The Fox loved happily, ate his food, while the Crane was merely an onlooker, could not, because of his beak or her beak, could not actually relish the food. Now, like any person offered food and not being able to eat, Crane was angry, upset, hungry, right? Hunger makes you all that, makes you do all that. So Crane said, let me teach Fox a lesson. He said, Fox, why don't you come to see the Brazil versus Chile knockout match tonight? Right? And this is what the Crane did. Served the Fox soup. You know what this vessel is called? Anyone knows? I'll give them a prize. It's called a flagon. Okay? I didn't remember it. I did remember the story, but I got it through my research. And the flagon was a vessel which the Fox could not have the soup from. I mean, his mouth wouldn't reach there, could not have it. So now it was a Fox's turn to go hungry. Crane happy with what he had achieved. So that's how the story ends. Right? Now, in our world, we want a moral. When I tell my daughter, I don't actually tell any moral or any of those things, but we all want a moral, right? So I'm going to now turn to you all. I want this session to be a little interactive because it's something that we all know. I mean, I don't think user experience is something which we are unaware of. So let's try to understand from you all, what do you think happened? What is the moral of the story? Anyone?
When you're serving or calling someone, you should make sure that you serve them or you go by their names. Make it user-friendly.
Thank you. So, have the right vessels in your kitchen. So, Parish can rest, but I'm going to go back.
You may have great stuff to provide or share, but you should also take care of what the user needs.
Okay. You all are very nice people. Any more drastic takeaways? Parish, you have something else?
I was saying form factor, I could relate to the form factor.
But isn't the normal moral of the story?
Tit for tat.
Tit for tat. Thank you. Right? ऐसा किया मैं उसको वापस दूंगा. So this is a tit for tat story, but interestingly, it is also a story. Now let me twist the scale a little bit. The fox is a fox. Why does he need a flagon? Why does a fox need a flagon in the kitchen? Right? Absolutely no reason. Fox will serve his or her guests in whatever utensils they have at home. Crane, in this story, decides to teach Fox a lesson. But Crane could probably have served him thinking that, okay, I faced this problem, but I could not let the Fox face the same problem. It's an interesting way to look at things, right? Now, I'm going to ask you to reflect upon your own organization or the software products that we create. Are our software products flat dishes and flagons? Do we unintentionally think we are doing something that we should be doing? Okay. Also, our own products, our documentation. This is something which makes sense to the user, which is an experience for the user to take back. So that's my amuse bush. Let's go to the main course. Right? So I have divided this presentation into 3 hours. My first half is quick. So what's the main course? experience. Okay. This is again something that you all can contribute. Anyone of late have had a good or a bad experience that I want to share? Any good experiences, any bad experiences? Thank you.
Okay, something that just happened this morning, so it may not be like good, but like when I came to the parking, I thought, okay, this guy is going to ask me where do you want to go, and ask me half a dozen other things. He just asked me my name, and I was like surprised. Okay, and he looked it up in the list and said, okay, you're in. So that was something you will see here. So that's up to the organizer. Thank you.
See it in user experience. He was going to say the sound system.
I was thinking I was going to talk about something more controversial. Okay, so has anyone watched Humshuckers recently? Who saw Hum? What's your experience?
Shall I really say it?
Really, absolutely.
I felt like shooting myself when I seen it.
Okay, so I was watching Rajiv Masnan's video review. He says that it's better to have your appendix first. Okay, than watching Humshuckers. So is Humshuckers a product that requires user experience design? I mean, does Sajid Khan need to think and introspect? Maybe, maybe not. Maybe you're not his audience.
It's a good movie.
Maybe.
It's a very good movie.
Very good movie. See?
Audience.
You already have somebody who loves the movie. So yes, I think the point is, experiences can be good, experiences can be bad. And one other aspect that I want to bring out, though I'm sure you are being sarcastic. It's true. So there are people who love stuff which you might hate, and there are people out there who are making movies that you may not love, but there are other people who love it. There are other experiences that you may hate. I'm sure you've gone to restaurants, right? You might look at me and no, right? It's a food example. So, yeah, I mean, you go to a restaurant, one day you will love the food, the other day you will not like the food. So experiences can also change from time to time. Right? Okay, so what does the experience depend upon? It depends upon the user, right? It's a different experience for different people. Your case depends upon the company. BMC as a company, I came in, I parked my car, it was smooth, I came to the conference, everything done in 5 minutes. I had a breakfast for 30 minutes. It's cool.
Food example.
Yeah, I love food. So I probably continue taking those examples. Services is something that we have all been exposed to. I recently wanted to change my Vodafone account from it was on my mother's name. My phone number was on my mother's name. I wanted to change it to my name. I did all the documentation, I gave it to them. 3 months passed, nothing happened. I went to the store. The lady said, "Give me your documents again." I said, "Why do you want my documents? Here's the slip. Everything you've taken, you've attached to the top half of this page and you cut and gave me this back." So she said, "No, but I don't know where I'll find it." And I'm quite irritated at that point. And I said, "Call your manager." He said, "Okay, give me 5 minutes." She goes inside. After 20 minutes, she comes back and said, "Aaj chalu ho jayega." And I'm saying, "Documents nahi chahiye." "Nahi sir, aaj chalu ho jayega." "Acha, tumhara phone number ho." I didn't ask her phone number. There's a girl. But I said, "Give me your manager's phone number or your store's number." "We don't have a number in the store." So then how will I know that this is happening or not happening? How will I come to know that I need to fix this? So you can call the helpline. So for 3 months I've been calling the helpline, nothing's happened. Okay. So what are the services? So experience has these dimensions. Go online and you find a lot more things, perception, subjectivity, etc. But essentially it all boils down to the product, the company, the service, how are you going to how are you going to face it, how as a user you get impacted. Another thing that I wanted to bring out here is there are two sides to the experience. One side is obviously the victim, even if it's a good experience, I'm just using the word victim. It's the victim of the experience. You can have a good experience or a bad experience. But the other side is who's designing that experience for you. Some of it is not designed, some of it is natural because nobody's thinking about something and doing something, right? And that's the other side which we are really talking about today. I think we all are facing experiences, we all are going through experiences. Are we designing experiences? Okay, what's the value of doing user experience design? Or when does it make sense to invest in user experience design? I think this is an important slide. I'll give you another example, food again. My mother has a catering business, small-time catering business. She makes great biryani. Okay. The way it works is there is no advertising, no website, nothing. There's just a phone number that she's given to one customer, and that customer give to other 10 people. Right? And they call her and say, you know what, I want 2 kg chicken biryani or vegetarian biryani on so and so date. My mother says, okay, let me think about it. Sees if there's anything going on in her life at that point. She says, okay, I'll do it. And she prepares the biryani. She's doing it herself. All the work that goes, she spends about 4 or 5 hours on it because she has to go and get the vegetables, get the chicken or whatever. Sorry if I'm offending vegetarians. But, no.
Scrum already offended.
Okay. So she gets it, she prepares it, and the way she delivers it also very interesting. Okay. The vessel is sealed. वो आटे के साथ सील किया हो रखा है, उसको खोलती नहीं है, वो ऐसे रखती है. She gives it, and she basically, when it's ready, she calls it, आगे हो गया है, आगे pick up कर लो, no delivery also. आगे pick up कर लो. The person comes, and then she tells that person, before you eat the biryani, put it on the low flame, put a tawa under your this thing, and about 10 minutes, and then you can open it and eat it. So after 10 minutes, people will open, and the fragrance, aroma will spread, and all those things. Okay? Nice things. And that's all she does. She doesn't charge a lot of money. Okay. Will she want to invest money in a user experience designer?
From the very beginning, when she goes to buy the vegetables and the chicken, and that very stage itself, she should get.
Does it make sense?
Yeah, a good quality has to start from the very beginning.
I agree on the quality. Okay. Now let me show you what I'm trying to say. Hey, what's that? That's okay. So the reason why it doesn't make sense in this case is because she's making 1,000 rupees. If she has to pay 1,000 rupees to the person who is doing all those things, she's running into a loss. So user experience design, while she needs to maybe inculcate a little bit of it, and that's one reason why I'm talking to all of you all is because not every organization will have a user experience designer. Are we, in some senses, asked to subconsciously play that role? Are we supposed to play that role? Is it something that we should do? इतना पैसा में हम लोग इतना ही करेगा. Like manager is here, so is user experience design expected out of us? Maybe not yet, okay, but it does make sense when the business is huge enough. Like you're making like 1 million, like Ajit's session today morning. You're making 1 million. And if you're not caring about what the user experience is, it's probably a problem. And the user aspect is what I just spoke about. So if you're doing something, you're kind of actually doing your hobby or you're kind of doing philanthropy, then you won't be able to invest. So most NGOs will not have a user experience designer. Right? Do you think so? May not have.
They do.
If they have, then it's a profit business. Right? So we should be careful of NGOs which have user experience designers. Okay. Let's talk about what a user experience designer does. Does anyone feel any similarity with the work you are doing? Okay. So I said user research, content strategy, information architecture, interaction design, visual design, usability analysis. Does it seem like you do all these things? In some senses you do, right? Now what is user research? I'm going to take an example here. This is a supermarket. A supermarket, when it opens up, it does have to do some of these things to get it right. Who's going to come and shop in the supermarket? That's a question. If they're not asking themselves, they should ask. Are people going to come here and spend 20 rupees to buy something? Or 5,000 rupees to buy a whole lot of things? If it's 20 rupees, the facilities that you will offer your customers will be different from what it will be if it is 5,000 rupees. Who's this person? Who are these people who are going to actually buy it? Now let's look at content strategy. So depending upon user research, you'll also start looking at what you want to house in your particular supermarket. Like I go to this supermarket and they have utensils, they have clothes, they have toasters and ovens, whole lot of things that you wouldn't usually expect in a supermarket. They have bean bags. Okay. Have any of you bought anything other than the usual groceries, veggies, fruits, juices, etc. from a supermarket? You'll have, right? Some of you have, some of you I'm seeing nodding. Some of you have not probably visited a supermarket. Just joking. But yeah, and the needs of different people are different. So some of you have bought these things, and some of you maybe do 1 month's shopping at a time. 15,000 rupees is your bill. Right? Now, one other way to look at the supermarket is you enter and Jeera is on the left and Haldi is at the end. Will you be happy? You may not be happy. Right? So information architecture is nothing but your table of contents. How are you going to arrange all the information in a particular space? So that's information architecture. So now, while I'm giving you the supermarket example, please try to apply it to your products. Because the product example here will be extremely boring, and we will get into kind of a boring interaction. So I said like something which is simple and relatable to all of us, what we'll take. But this is extremely important in places where the business volume is high. So you do these things, and you also do interaction design. And these are the four key things that a lot of user experience designers are doing. This is still probably UI designers' domain, the visual design aesthetics. And this is a kind of a usability engineer's domain. But the first four things is what the user experience designer is doing these days. What is interaction design? Very similar to your example, the supermarket which I go to has free parking and lots of parking, and now I can take my shopping cart and put my things there. Was this a showstopper for me to go to this? I mean, if these things were not there, would I have gone to that particular shopping or supermarket? Think about it. I don't go to a DMart that is right next to my house. Because one is, it's stupid to take your car and go 100 meters. Right? And it's also, once I buy all those things, how am I going to carry them home? right? And what if there is no free parking? I have to spend 50 rupees. उससे अच्छा मैं जूस का पैकेट ले लेता हूँ, दूसरा ले लेता हूँ, in food, sorry. But yes, no. So that's interaction design. How do you think 2 steps forward, or what do you do to think 2 steps forward? This is part of user experience designer's role.
Can I just add to the slide because it's pretty interesting given the.
Sure. And you all are all welcome to add that.
Okay, given the scenario that you've taken about hypermart basically, so the hypermarts are the ones that keep clothes along with utensils and stuff. So then a lot of, I read about retail in India because it's a pet subject of mine. So a lot of user research goes into this. So there are folks in teams that just stand around in the malls and they're picking this up from Sam Walton basically, the guy who started Walmart. So what he used to do was just going around in the stores every day and just seeing what people are doing and taking notes. He would come back with copious notes. So whatever you see kept in the mall there at any place is not a coincidence. It's not a coincidence that you get your release bubblegum at the end. Because you're done, you just want to just throw something in. So that's a good example of architecture and structure. And another classic example about interaction behavior is when the big bazaars were coming up. At that point, Kishore Biyani was trying to study the Indian psyche of shopping. So if you go to a big bazaar, you'll find it's always chaotic. There's always chaos, and the chaos is created by it's deliberately created. So it's not a coincidence because they found that when you go to a mandi, for example, then you find a lot of people fighting, bargaining, and all of that stuff. So people wanted that sort of an experience even when they shop in a more sophisticated environment. And that's why they found that Big Bazaar actually took off because people felt very much at home in that new scheme of things, so to say. So that's an example of this.
Thanks for sharing. I didn't know this. This is random and interesting. People want a fighting experience. So I'm just going back for there's a hand raised.
So you told me about the super mart next to your house and you said I don't know take my car just for like 100 meters. But if I were you, I would take my two-wheeler, right? 100 meters I can go on my two-wheeler and park there. So it would have costed 10 rupees, not 50 rupees. One thing. Another thing, I'll purchase what are the items I need to buy, and I'll tell them, please deliver it to my place, and go. So why I'm saying this is because like all the users, they don't think alike.
I think I perfectly agree with you. I don't have a two-wheeler. So I'm a different user, sorry. I'm not trying to make fun, but no, I think we are different users.
Yeah.
Yes. We are different users, and the DMart is whatever is there next to my house is there with the intention it's doing a lot of business. Okay. So I'm looking at it from my perspective, it doesn't work for me. I get free parking by the way, I don't have to pay for parking. In DMart I would probably have to, but yeah. So yes, what works for some doesn't work for some. Businesses continue to thrive, and when businesses don't thrive, they need to rethink. Why are they not? Is the experience a problem? And I think we have come, at least some of our products in our organization have come to that stage where we do have to think of design today. Because if we don't, we are going to lose business. Okay? And one of the things we should take forward to our organizations is, if something new, you're coming up with something new, you think about design. A lot of big organizations are already doing it. Startups have been doing it for the last 7-8 years already. But not all of them still are. Maybe you are in an organization which requires some amount of support in this area. So it can be something that you can obviously think of. Okay. Where was I? Yeah, so visual design aesthetics. Visual design aesthetics is something, if I decided to become a user experience designer, this is something which I won't be able to do. Because one is I'm not trained and I'm not interested in getting trained in Photoshop or, I could do wireframes, but it still needs to look beautiful. Right? And there are trained people who do that. Does that mean I cannot be a user experience designer? Absolutely not. Okay. you can still have 2 skills out of the 6, 4 skills out of the 6, 1 skill out of the 6. Depending on your organization, how it is tough, you can still be in that role. Okay. But by visual design, I'm guessing everybody understands what visual design is, so I'm not getting into that. Visibility, analysis, and measurement. So this is a fascinating thing. This is the most interesting thing in the entire process. And it gives you insights, and your perceptions get crushed in the process while you're doing it. What basically this is you taking your product and asking a customer to use it. And you're not getting your nose there, you're just watching what's happening. Somebody else is seeing how the cursor is running on the screens. So what's happening is the user's problems are surfacing while using a product. A lot of times, great design also can fail if not gone back and done some tweaking, understanding, okay, this needs to be fixed. Facebook, right? How many Facebook users here?
Actually, the other way around. How many don't use Facebook?
No, I'm just checking if the example will be relevant, right? How frequently does Facebook change its user interface?
Sorry?
How frequently does Facebook change its user interface?
Once every 2 years.
Right? And are you happy with it?
No.
Are you happy with it now?
No.
So you remember the old user interface?
No.
Okay.
I remember when I started it around 6 years back,
Okay.
and I prefer that to the one that's
So
current.
do you have an option to go back to that user interface?
No.
No. Okay.
Like Apple.
Exactly.
How many other folks here who don't remember the user interface from 4 years back? You don't remember? Don't remember. How many Gmail users? Wow, everybody. I think you have a laptop in your hand, that's probably why you're not raising hands. But Gmail keeps changing its user interface as well. I don't notice it. I sometimes don't even notice it. Things it keeps putting in, and then it has to put a blurb saying we have changed this thing. I think, okay, you did change it. Right? Sometimes we are not happy. Right? Some users are not happy. They'll not continue to be happy. But Facebook has taken a decision keeping in mind 10% of people are not going to be happy with us. 90% of people may be happy, may not notice, may not care. I don't know. But it is not a thoughtless transition. That's what I'm saying. They have thought about why to do this. They have run usability labs. They say, okay, maybe this is a problem, I need to fix this. Or they may be implementing 10 more features in whatever the product is and trying to simplify or make the interface less complicated. So various reasons, right? And this is what the user experience designer does best to kind of.
I had one more example here of Microsoft. When we first switched to the new word with ribbons, everybody was cursing it because you didn't know what to click where and where to go. And then there were a lot of blogs, a lot of articles against it. But then we're from the Office City, I guess, yeah. No, Windows 7 onwards, yeah. So then, but after some time when you started using the ribbon interface and you began to like it, you started feeling a lot more empowered and started finding things a lot easier. So I think that's a classic example of a UX person thinking way ahead of the market at that point and then getting people to buy into it later. So.
Thanks, sorry once again. Yes, and a lot of this could be radical changes, okay, which may fox people as to why they're doing this. Why take a chance of changing the interface when everything is going so smoothly, right? But we are not living, or we are not designing for today. We are designing for 5 years from now, 10 years from now, maybe 50 years from now. I don't know, but we are not designing for today. It's for sure. So this is what I was talking about, and this is not done at the end of a release cycle. It's usually done during the release cycle. So if there are, if your company organization is trying to get a new product out, they will build something, then demo it to some engineers, sorry, not engineers, customers, get their feedback, and go back to the drawing board and see what needs to change. Of course, this process is continuous process. During the development, during the testing, after the product is released, it goes on. The Facebook and Gmail examples are clear, right? This process continues to go on. So user experience designer, I think in today's world, has a long life. It's a great career option. Okay, so final, how are we doing on time? We are okay?
We started late, so maybe some more time.
Some more time? How much time do I have?
10 minutes.
10 minutes? Perfect. Okay, so this is the last part, and this is really going to be over to you to kind of contribute. So what do you think user experience design is? Is it an art or is it a science? How many say art? Two. How many say science? How many on the fence? Both. Okay. Why do you say art? Whoever is saying art or whoever is saying art and science, anybody can write an
I'll
answer.
say art and science. I'll give that answer. So I think I don't need the mic. Yeah, so if you look at art, initially everybody was in the dark wondering how to design things, and everybody did their own UIs. So you had the Unix UIs coming up the side, and then Apple came up with its UIs, and Microsoft had its UIs. But then over a period of time, as the industry converged, then they began to create processes and certain guidelines and restrictions. People follow the Microsoft guidelines.
So it's now more a science.
More a science, exactly. So initially it had to take off as an art, but then now it's being reduced like an assembly line kind of.
So now you're on the side of science. Right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay. Anyone who's vehemently on the side of art?
No, I'm saying
You're saying science.
both.
You're saying both. Vehemently on science.
I'm more towards art because it is about knowing the user. See, it's very easier to say your login credentials, putting the login credentials on the left-hand side of the page. It does not matter, or whether it's right or center. It does matter because it depends on the click, how comfortable it is to the user. It becomes a science when you give guidelines to it. But in the end of the day, it is like thinking what would be comfortable for the user. So that is where the art comes into the picture, because how user is going to be comfortable. It's the layout is always thought in terms of whether it's going to be comfortable.
Thank you.
One more art.
Art? Can I just reply to your answer? I think what you're saying, and let me just kind of reset, is that it's not simple enough to be considered a straightforward process. That's what I'm saying. Why would you call it art? Think about it, not forcing you to. Art would mean it's only creative, would be, it doesn't, sometimes it doesn't care for the user. Sometimes artists don't care for the users, right?
You wanted to say?
I think art, because graphic design needs to be decent to the eye, and it takes art to be decent to the eye. It can have very little science as long as as it's decent. That's what I believe.
Sure.
Yeah, I'll use the example of what he said about the ribbon. Now that is, you can look at it from the other side as well. If Microsoft created the ribbon and you said it was future ready, but there were many things against the ribbon also. In the earlier interface, everything was available at any point of time. What the ribbon did was, it changed the interface and put it within the ribbons. Now whatever was available all time, now you have to go and click on it. Now that's a negative user experience. Now why are we accepting it? Because we don't have any other options. Microsoft forced it on us to accept it. So is it a good user experience? No, because everything was available at one point of time, at any time. It was available at all the times. Now with the ribbon interface, wow, the things that were available and accessible at every point of time went into certain ribbons. So, I will have to say.
Okay, I'm not here to try and solve the debate, but all I just want to say is, if you consider it smart enough to not think about it, there are a lot of elements there which are purely science. Okay. Somebody wanted to say something about purely science? Somebody says vehemently only science, not if. कोई नहीं है? कोई तो है? हाथ पकड़ो. Okay, I am vehemently on the side of science here. Okay, the reason being, I think each and every person in this room can be a great user experience designer, whether or not they are artists. Right? Because it involves trial and error. It involves failure. What is most important for a user experience designer is to take decisions. There are whole lot of elements there. There is a whole lot of research that's going to help you. You need to decide, this is what somebody at Microsoft took that decision, say, I'm going to use ribbons with everyone else. I don't care if people are going to complain for a while. Windows 8 का जो touchscreen interface है, or Apple keeps changing its user interface. That all looks artistic because there's a whole lot of science gone behind it. Okay. Why is the clock not an artistic piece, right? It is art in a sense. But if you really think about it, it's a whole lot of gears working together, keep ticking at the same time, give you time. Occasionally they stop. Okay, so something to think about. I don't want to say whether it's one or the other because I mean this is an open debate, nice to have debate. Okay. The future is past, according to me. Do you know what a telegraph is, or do you know what are the different telegraph technologies that we once upon a time had? Morse code, yes. We used to put signals in the air, like the smoke signals. The Pope still does, I think, to tell who's the new Pope.
No, that's smoke.
That's smoke, right? Smoke. I'm talking about smoke signals also. So that's also kind of a messaging device, right? Then somewhere around the end of the 19th century, Alexander Graham Bell invented the telephone. Right? And India got its phone, I don't know when, but it came to my house in, I think, 83, and that's still early by comparison to a lot of different homes. So I remember the entire building used to come to my house to sometimes make a call. It was a very nice experience to have a phone there because there was a lot of social interaction because of the phone happening. Right? Now, what is the state of this dial phone? How many people in your house have this phone? Wow. Is it a dial phone? I mean, is there a... Is it a dial phone in your house? Does it actually work?
No, nothing.
And okay, it's a show item, right?
Yeah.
Only pick it up, okay. Perfect. No, I'm going to kind of stretch my thought a little bit. Are we this today? Are technical communicators this today? Is it going to happen to us? Do we want to write better user manuals, or do we want to give a better product to the customers, more intuitive interface, the documentation is not apparent. Okay, what Apple does it gives you documentation, but I think that's more for legal usage than for anything else. It is intuitive enough. Has a documentation team or has somebody worked on that interface to make it intuitive, more communicative, more interesting to use? Is that something which we should be moving towards? This is a thought I just want to leave everyone with, right? I'm not saying it one way or the other. I'm going to open it to questions, if there are any. Bear in mind, I'm not a practicing expert. This is just the session was to just have a nice little interaction, understand what user experience is. But now, if you have questions and you want me to answer them and I can't answer them today, I promise to get back to you. Okay. So, any questions?
I had a point to make.
So, can I ask questions and then you give questions?
What are the tools which are used in user experience?
Common sense. So there are tools like card sorting, which is done for information architecture. Then there's something called personas, which is used to design what are the different. I personally don't have understanding of all the tools, but a lot of information is available. There's a buzz on UXD going on in the online world today, so you'll find a lot of information online. Okay, better to read it or learn it from there rather than taking my view on it. Or some more questions, right?
Maybe not really a question, it's like a thought which I want to know. See, UX is the need, when you say. So what I look at it is driven by two things. It's like, one is to have continuous improvement, like what you gave example of Microsoft. So they have been saying, okay, this is what I have brought, so I'll come up with a ribbon, which is something continuous they want to improve and be in the market. The next example would be a reverse where a person is forced to use UX is, a company is doing well and they are in the market and they see competitions coming up, which are with a new logo, new designs, so people are flocking. And it's the same line of business. So to be in market, they're going with a change. So they are forced to come up with a better UX and designs to be in market to survive. So this is where I'm looking at UX maybe.
So yes, I think some organizations bring about a paradigm shift in the business, right? And when that happens, the other organizations will have to follow, because otherwise, your sales team is just going to take, this company doesn't have this.
So UX is part of everyone and it's mandatory in some way or the other.
Yeah, all big businesses have to care about it. So one more question. Here's my last two questions sufficient, right?
So I'm just
Start
wondering,
seeing people from the other side. But these are the people who are going to be there for the next session.
so if you see how the iPad is designed, 2-year-old, 3-year-olds using it, there's hardly any need for any technical documentation. So maybe it takes to work.
Does that make
Technical rights redundant.
in the future? If this is the way things are going?
It's a loaded question. I personally think documentation in the future is going to be purely for legal usage. Okay. Does not mean that we should not write it well. Right? You still want minimalistic documentation. You still want using concepts like information mapping or data concepts, etc. Because I believe that whatever you do well. Somebody comes and looks at your documentation. Maybe 1,000 years from now, these archives are found somewhere. Somebody reads it, you know what, I can use this. Right? So documentation is not going to die. But how it's going to be used is going to change. I believe that. So one question there, one question. If it is something that we can take offline.
Hello, this is Amruta. Actually, as you said, the users are different, right? But see, I am working for mechanical companies, not software. So our customers are technicians. So we are preparing the assembly manuals, which use information for assembly, assembly and maintenance purpose. So sometimes express technicians don't want all the information. But we can't assume, because we are being technical, we assume that our customers is the layman who don't know anything. So we have and new customers, this new technicians wants all the information. So how to balance this thing? The experienced user and the new users.
Experienced users will come to documentation only for when they are stuck somewhere, right? So is your doc?
That time they don't value us, though.
Nobody is going to value your. Nobody in the user experience design world also is nobody. In fact, the best, I think you should be satisfied if there are no problems coming up, because that means that you are doing your work well. So don't look for that kind of feedback. Right? Okay, so there are a few questions, but we'll take it offline. I'm sorry. And this is my last slide. Okay. Thank you. So to explore strange new worlds, to seek out new life and new civilizations, to boldly go where no man has gone before. So earlier, this is the original original Star Trek quote. The new Star Trek quote now has to boldly go where no one has gone before. But I'm a fan of the old Star Trek. Okay, thanks a lot. I am tweeting today. There is a tweet handle or hashtag going on, so you can either send me your comments, feedback there. There's a form, or come offline and talk to me. And there was my LinkedIn handle as well, so reach out to me and connect to me if you want to. Thanks a lot, everyone. It was a great session.